Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good! And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good! Okay, well let's learn English together. Hello people, hello and welcome. Welcome once more, welcome once again to this, the latest lesson this week. It's Thursday, and that means that we're only one day away from Friday. Yes, Friday, the best of the week. Well, the standard working week, that is. Yes, and here we are, in the neighborhood of Friday, ready to get through today's lesson so that we can get on to tomorrow's lesson, and after that's finished, into the start of the weekend. So, are you with me, or are you with the Woolwich? Well, given that the Woolwich was bought by Barclays in 2000, I reckon it's a better deal if you're with me. So, if you're all with me, then it must be time for us to make a start on Friday's lesson. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I must remember the old phrase, learn to walk before you run. Thursday's lesson. Thursday. All right, well, before we get stuck into the vocabulary, or at least some of the vocabulary that we saw and heard in my conversation with Enid, let's just have a look at the phrase I just mentioned. What do you think it means? It's not hard to figure out, is it? It's not difficult to work out the meaning, is it? Think about it for a second. When we first learn to move, what do we learn first? How to run or how to walk? Yes, of course, daft question. First we learn how to walk and then we learn how to run. Okay, now we all know this. This is common sense. It's so logical that we normally don't even think about it. It's second nature. It's something we do without thinking, like a reflex. No, thanks boys, but that's not what I meant. No, I said that it's like a reflex, not your song, The Reflex. Honestly, pay attention, would you? No. As we know, a reflex is something we do automatically. And when we're talking about what we learn first, walking or running, well, that question is such a basic idea that we don't even have to think about it. Of course we learn to walk before we learn to run. Walking is the basic form of running, and that's what the phrase is talking about. We have to learn to do the basic things before we move on to the advanced version. Now, we all know that there are some Hollywood films which tell a different story. There are some Hollywood films where someone with no experience in something, say, flying a plane, discovers that they've got a natural talent for flying planes. They don't need to learn. They don't need to train. They just turn the plane on and boom, they're flying. Yes! Well, no. Actually, that's not the way it works, is it? Things like this only happen in films, don't they? Yes. And do any of you know why? Why is it that these things only happen in films, never in real life? Well, because films are fiction. Films are made up. They're not real. The writer writes a screenplay which isn't true to life. And the director always wants to make life look nicer or better than it actually is. So the director changes this and that and moves this here and that there and makes the impossible possible. Why? Because then more people will want to see the film. It's a fantasy. It's escapism. You watch films to escape reality, not see more of it. You probably have enough reality in your daily life. You want more fantasy, more escapism, more English boy magicians, more superheroes who are bulletproof and never lose. And we find these things, these lies in films. Okay, but back in the real world, you have to learn to walk before you can run. If you want to learn how to fly fighter jets, you don't start practicing in fighter jets. No, you start in small aircraft. You train, you study, you pass exams, and then you get to learn how to fly another sort of plane. And you learn how to fly that plane, and then you repeat the same thing. You study, you learn, you practice, and if everything goes well, then somewhere in the future, you get to fly a fighter jet. But as all of those pilots know, well, the real ones, not the ones in films. You have to learn to walk before you can run. We all have to learn the basics before we can try something more complex. We have to learn how to ride a bike before we enter the Tour de France, for example. All right, so learn to walk before you run. What else did we hear? Well, Enid told me that I got the wrong end of the stick. Any ideas? Well, when someone gets hold of the wrong end of the stick, it means they've misunderstood something. Enid was telling me about what Yogi Pear said to her, and I assumed that her yogi was here. I assumed that her yogi had traveled from Tibet to teach her some more yoga and meditation and stuff. I misunderstood. I got hold of the wrong end of the stick. I didn't understand what was going on. That's all it means. Now, what else was there? Well, there was the word oxymoronic, wasn't there? Yes. And now this isn't a very typical word, and the noun an oxymoron isn't too common either, but they're simple ideas. An oxymoron is a sentence or a phrase, a figure of speech which connects two opposite ideas, so which appears to contradict itself. If I say, for example, that someone is an intelligent idiot, then, well, those two ideas contradict each other, don't they? So that's an oxymoronic idea. And we see these ideas all over the place. We hear people talking about an open secret, or we hear people asking for original copies. But if we stop to look at them, we can see that one idea contradicts the other. How can a secret be open? If it's open, then it's not a secret, is it? And how can someone make a copy and still have the original? Copies aren't originals, are they? And even if we don't pay attention to it, we do use a lot of oxymorons every day. We talk about old news. But news can't be old, can it? We talk about soldiers being killed by friendly fire. How is that fire friendly? We sometimes hear that paid volunteers are working for the company. But if you're paid, then you're not volunteering, are you? So, although these phrases, these figures of speech appear to be illogical, we all use them, and sometimes they can be humorous. Sometimes, a lot of the time, we don't even notice what we're saying is, well, contradictory. Act naturally. He's an escaped prisoner. Ah, that's old news. When I last saw him, he was running slowly. Isn't he an honest thief? All of those are contradictory, aren't they? All right, what else? Well, Enid said that her yogi was as mad as a wet hen. Now, this just means that someone was really, really, really angry. I think this is American, because there's a difference between the way that the Brits use the adjective mad and the meaning that the Americans have for the same word. For me, mad means insane, hoo-hoo, loopy, nutty, mentally ill, screwy, round the bend, not right in the head, as nutty as a fruitcake, off your head, off your rocker, bananas, barking mad, bonkers, away with the fairies, balmy. All of those adjectives tell us that you're not normal. Your mental processes aren't all there. You're not sane. You're not compos mentis. You're not of sound mind. You're not right in the head. Okay, so the Brits use mad to indicate mental disorder. These days we often hear about people being bipolar or schizophrenic, for example, but when I was a kid, people didn't use these words. No, when I was young, people just said that you were mad. So, mad is a cover-all term for all sorts of mental illnesses, to the Brits. But for the Americans, mad is a synonym for angry. When you hear an American saying that they're mad, they're not admitting to the fact that they suffer from mental illness. No, they're saying that they're annoyed, they're cross, they're furious, they're livid, they're fuming, they're apoplectic. So, back to Enid's phrase. It appears that hens don't like water. I don't know if this is true. Ask a chicken farmer. But going on the basis of the phrase, when a hen gets wet, it gets really angry. Matse Latse was, as Enid said, as mad as a wet hen. He was really angry, not very mentally disturbed. And as we know, Keith, Mad Dog Pheasant, is as mad as a wet hen most of the time. Still, Keith is mad in both ways. He's mentally disturbed and he's angry. What a wonderful combination, I don't think. Now, Enid also said something about talking her yogi round. Do you have any ideas about this one? I said that she might have offended her yogi by falling asleep, and perhaps he's not willing to teach her anymore. But Enid, however, said it wasn't a problem. She said that she'd talk him round. So what did she mean? Well, to talk someone round is to convince them to do something. To talk someone round is to influence someone to do something by talking to them. Perhaps someone doesn't want to do something, but if someone talks to them about it, if someone is able to convince them by talking to them to do this thing, then we say that that person has talked them round. I thought that Matze Latze wouldn't want to teach Enid after she fell asleep in the yoga class, but Enid thinks that she can convince him that he should continue to teach her. She thinks that she can convince him to continue teaching her. She thinks that she can talk him round. She thinks she can persuade him, convince him to do what she wants him to. Now, Enid also mentioned something about being in a rut. That was before she said that she was in a rut. She was talking about her life being in a rut. Now, what on earth is a rut when it's not at home? Well, imagine the situation that you're driving some sort of wheeled vehicle. It could be a car, or a van, or a scooter, or a cart, or a bike, anything at all. Okay. Now imagine that the road you're driving on isn't a real road with asphalt and stuff on the top. No, this is a country path in the middle of nowhere. This is just a dirt track. You're riding or driving your vehicle along a path which is made of earth. That's all. No subgrade, no subbase, no base course, and no bituminous pavement on top. So, not a modern road, but a dirt track in the middle of nowhere. All right, now what if it's been raining? The earth will be soft, won't it? Yes. And the earth and water will combine to make mud, won't they? Yes. And when your wheels pass along this muddy path, they will cut into the mud and leave a deep furrow, like this. Okay, so that's a rut. And you all know what problems that could cause, don't you? Yes, when the earth dries, when the mud hardens, it'll be difficult to travel along this path, won't it? Now, think about what Enid said. She said that she was in a rut. She didn't mean that she was traveling along a road with deep furrows in it, did she? No. She was using the idea of a rut to tell us something about her life. She felt that she was stuck in a rut in her life. She felt that her life was dull, unproductive, boring, but, and here's the connection to the rut made by the vehicle's wheels, it is hard to get out of this boring, repetitive pattern. Just as it's difficult to physically get out of a rut, if your life is in a rut, it's stuck in a boring, unproductive pattern that's difficult to change. Enid's life was stuck in a rut and she was unhappy with that. She went to Tibet to get out of that rut, and now that her life is better, she doesn't want to fall back into old habits. She wants to keep her life out of that rut. She doesn't want to go back to where she was. She wants to keep her life out of that rut. No more boring, unproductive life. Change and don't return to the rut. Okay, but we're not stuck in a rut, are we? No, we're not in a rut. We're productive, we're moving, we're learning, and unfortunately, we're also out of time. Yes, people, that time has come around once more. It's the end of the lesson and it's coming up fast, like a submarine on steroids. So it's time for us to part, but don't worry too much because, as you all know, we'll be back. Yes, same time, same place, same channel, same TV station, but not the same cup of tea or coffee. And not the same time as such, but the same time tomorrow. Yes, I'll see you all tomorrow, and until then, have fun. Enjoy yourselves, people. Enjoy yourselves as much as you can after you've finished the hoovering and the other chores which are waiting for you. And don't forget to turn the music on. I'll see you all tomorrow, and you all know what day tomorrow is, don't you? Yes, it's not Tuesday. Damned right it's not Tuesday. See you tomorrow. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye.